Welcome back to the Impossible Run. This is going medieval on the highest difficulty with the worst colonists you can get. But the game doesn't consider that our villagers have all of the worst traits and nearly 0 points in their skills when it's assigning us raids. In the first episode, we built up this meager base before getting slammed with a big fight. We were outnumbered 3-1, outgeared, and had high tier enemies at our door in just the first year. We fought them off, but we had to sacrifice most of our production facilities. Now we're in early autumn and we're struggling with food shortages and with weak defenses that won't hold up to more attacks. While mood buildings aren't important for most runs of this game, they're the highest priority we have right now. A bad mood makes colonists rebel, which means they won't do any work for about half the day. Our colonists feel awful by default because of their horrible traits. Shrines, places to eat, private bedrooms, and more can all improve their outlook. This table will let settlers eat at it for a small buff, and this will eventually become a great hall, which will give an even larger buff. With the nearby berry bushes gone, I'll go ahead and move the campfire over to our kitchen. The room it was in had everything it needed to be a library, but the campfire prevented it from being qualified as one. Now, it'll increase our research speed. Timmy, our constructor, needs to finish the 4th bedroom, although he starts rebelling pretty early in the episode. That not only means that half of our colonists are refusing to work, it also means that he destroys the table he was working on. Timmy spent half a day mining up that limestone just to destroy it in one temper tantrum. The campfire in what will be our kitchen means I need to put in some new stockpiles there. One for raw food and another for sticks will make cooking much more efficient, although right now I don't really have raw food to store. Etheldreda chose to heal up after the last fight, but not in our village. Good work. God, I always need more work done. I'll put in a wooden table to replace the one Timmy wrecked. He at least partially makes up for that whole ordeal by finishing the 4th bedroom, but he quickly decides that he wants more to make up for. The table bugged again. Maybe this room is just cursed. No, whatever, it's finally done. Our colonists aren't big on ergonomics, so I'll throw some chairs in so that they don't have to stand while they eat. That's going to require more deforestation. And when the earth is uninhabitable 700 years from now, blame Timmy, his temper tantrums, and his need to sit. Now that we're working on that monumental task, next up is some defenses. I'm going to start by putting in a clay stockpile here, which will make the whole process much more efficient. I'll build things in a little bit step by step as Timmy finishes what's there, but the goal is to have an entrance that's much harder to breach than what we had last time. I got lucky on that first raid when a colonist with a fork got on the door, but there's no way I'll get that lucky all the time. Some traders arrived to try and arm us, but it's all too expensive. I've never felt this poor in this game. They want to sell me golden shields and silver swords while our colonists toil for clay and wood. Why can't they just bring us seeds? The first wall of our defenses goes in, so the flooring is next. I think this should work, hopefully. I haven't built anything like this or tested it out yet, but as the cool kids say, YOLO. Our colonists aren't just struggling for safety and wealth though, they're struggling for food. I'm really focusing the defenses right now, which means that people aren't hunting. It doesn't help that the deer are far away, making the trip out there pretty long. But the nearby berry bushes are drying up, so that'll have to change soon. With the flooring for our defenses in, the stairs can go in next. This will be the entrance, and some walls nearby should stop enemy archers from firing in. Deer wander into our village to grace us with their presence. I draft up some colonists to take the free pickings that end up being not so free. One still goes down eventually before the others run off. Each deer is good for a little less than 2 days worth of food. Back in base, the stairs we had are in, which means the stairs we had have had their hardships handily. Damn it, I almost recorded that in one go. Their hardships handled handily. A little storage area outside our kitchen for deer carcasses is probably too big, but it's better to be too prepared than not. A note from the future, it's way too big, we never even come close to filling this. All of this means that the next part of our defenses are starting to go in. This will stop our archers from being shot while enemies run into the choke. With those queued up, I can stop focusing everything on food and defenses for now. I want more bedrooms in space, which means more wood and clay. And more research too. As if to help with that, Baudry arrives. And because he doesn't have a raid following him, letting him join is a no-brainer. Although he won't directly help with the research, mining, or chopping. He literally thinks of nothing but tailoring. Until I have another bed for him, he'll get stuck with sleeping in the late morning. Although no sooner do I set that than he falls unconscious. He came in, ate our food, and immediately passed out. What a legend. With the core of the defenses in, I'll throw in some doors to slow enemy attacks down and retreat behind as needed. I want to move away from just stalling raids out, but abandoning that possibility this early would be suicide. A bedroom is probably a good idea too, although Baudry seems pretty prone to pass out wherever. Maybe he doesn't even need one. All those red names up in the top left mean that our colonists are in bad moods, so maybe I should have another bedroom just in case. Right now, it looks like it's just that it's late, they're tired, and it's a bit nippy out. Nothing too bad, although more improvements are clearly needed, because, yeah. I'd like to make some defensive improvements too, but I need iron ingots for higher tier doors, so I'll unlock smelting instead. The furnace goes in on the roof. That last raid destroyed hundreds of wood worth of items, while everyone defended on the roof. Our expensive buildings are all gonna go up here for now. A blight hits, but honestly, I don't really care. I have enough linen for a few outfits, and seeds for next year are already stockpiled. I'd actually already deleted the flax field to stop harvesting it, so I'm just gonna let nature run its course. The furnace finishes up the following morning, so now I need iron nuggets to start turning into ingots. I'm a little hesitant to go all in on this though. There's so little iron on this map, and low skill miners end up destroying a lot of the resource. A miner with a skill of 20 gets almost twice as much iron out of every node as someone with a skill of 0. Still, I need at least enough for some doors, so I'll mine out 2 of the sparse blocks for 60 nuggets. Some stockpiles near the furnace will make this process much more efficient. Food's low, so a hunting trip is in order, but with how far away the deer are, it'll be a long trip. A roof goes in over our 5th bedroom. That probably should have been a priority. Some idle workers are actually popping up, so let's reevaluate where things are and decide the best path forward. The defenses look good. I think the next big goals are the Great Hall, more research, and food. Etheldreda can handle research, so she'll hand her bow over to Baudry so he can hunt. Everyone else is going off on a trip to the far side of the ridge to hunt some deer. The firing squad lines up for misses. Well, the deer is walking slowly, so we should hit this 3 of 4 miss. Good God. There's 2 for 12. At least it attacks us instead of running off. Can you imagine? The other deer are long gone, and just to mock us, they ran unfettered through our base. You know what? Screw nature. Let's go with industry. Some iron ingots will let us door ourselves in from the outside world, and a sewing station goes in for good measure. If deer are so smart, why don't they have clothes, huh? Oh, I need another church. Wait, it's for an Oak Brethren shrine. I almost don't want to put it in just because I'm now against anything natural, but it's for the mood buff. I'll do it. This is going to require a lot of wood. The forest nearby is already starting to look thin, but that's progress. For smithing, I need to make sure that only Stonehill is getting all the experience. It's a hard skill to get any levels in, even when the resources aren't so limited. I eventually want a skill of 20, but I'm not sure if that's even possible on this map. If our colonists can't have mechanical components, they can at least have a great hall so that they're smiling as they die. Chairs are the first part of that. Though, before we get a place to eat meals at, maybe I should address the problem of not having food in general. Someone forgot to tell Boyden to chop the deer up, so now Boyden has to go for a midnight trip to the kitchen to cook breakfast. He's not a fan. Even with a hot meal in his stomach, Timmy is still suffering from the cold. He doesn't seem to actually have a shirt on. I could have sworn he had one. Well, it's time for Baudry to prove his worth. A tailoring of 20 should help a lot. The building's outside and not in a workshop, but I'm so used to 0 skill colonists at this point that his 20 means that it shoots by in, well, I guess it was still 6 hours, but that's a lot faster than most of the stuff going on now. And it's a fine outfit too. It's a nice change from the flimsy and sturdy gear that they're used to. A new colonist, Walt, arrives. He's followed by a raid, and they're looking a little scary. I think we should be able to handle the archer forces really well though. Our defenses are going to be good for that. Walt doesn't seem like a great colonist, but none of ours are, and a double star in mining is at least interesting, so I do think it's worth it. Once I cull his skills, he's down to a bit of tailoring, smithing, and botany, which is slightly underwhelming. We already have colonists for all of those. The double star in mining is nice, but it'll be a long time before he's contributing, and that's a long time to feed him. I wonder if sending him back to the pursuers is the right call. Regardless, he's kicking Baudry back to the night shift as soon as he had a normal schedule. Unfortunate. I'll queue up another bedroom to fix that problem. For now, Walt stumbles back for some food, but passes out before he can get there. He later wakes up just long enough to stuff some food down before he passes out yet again. The hall has chairs, but it needs more decorations to really be great, which in our case is just 8 deer heads. That's not creepy at all. I'm slightly worried that this actually helps colonist moods. Oh, although that's not going to help their moods any. Walt just died in the middle of the night. I checked the recording footage, but I never actually selected him to see any injuries, and his health seemed fine, so I have no idea what killed him. All I know is that he came here, befriended everyone enough that they liked him by the morning, ate a meal, then dropped dead. That's gonna give everyone a nasty mood debuff for a while. At least the raiders choose not to attack us. They see his corpse and peace out. I'm honestly still not sure if I would have tried to fight them off or just given him back, but it doesn't matter now. Life goes on. Or, well, you get the idea. By life goes on, I mean that they're ending another deer's life. It was nice enough to wander nearby, but our colonists aren't as merciful. They sadistically miss to draw its death out and make it more painful. Probably. The only other explanation is that they're wholly incompetent. Anyways, the deer heads are going in nicely. 12 more bones will finish off all 8 heads the Great Hall needs. That's only a couple more kills. But while seeing those deer corpses might be fine, our settlers aren't happy about their dear friend being dead. Well, what was his name again? They're broken up about Walt dying, and seeing his corpse. Where'd he die? Oh, he got moved to our corpse storage area. Moving that area further away so they don't see him as much should work, right? At least this means Baudry can sleep at a normal time again, in his dead friend's bed. It's gonna be some nasty nightmares. With iron ingots in their hands, unlocking defensive structures just makes sense, and clay brickmaking will let us build a forge soon enough. Timmy's old habits die hard here. It's a cold evening, so he's spending it inside by the research table, but only Etheldreda should be spending her time on that. Unfortunately, the cult's affecting more than just their penchant for staying inside. Walt's corpse is rotting very slowly. I had hoped that putting it out of the way would suffice, but I think a grave is in order. This place is beneath the maple tree, and it looks really nice. Although Timmy dug that grave up really quickly. I wonder if he has experience. Food's low, so it's time to hunt with brains and a plan and also weapons. Stonehill's gonna run around the side to flush the deer towards the other hunters. I have been outsmarted by a deer. The colonists don't like being ruled over by me for some reason. I can't imagine why. Rebellion was less common until Walt died, but I've got 3 refusing to work at once now. Timmy also broke his shrine, though the new one eventually goes in to give the Oak Brethren practitioners a temple of their own. A merchant caravan arrives as if to celebrate, but even though I have some materials I could actually sell now, they've decided to come in with absolutely nothing worth buying. At least the Great Hall is coming along well. 4 wooden torches go in. I need to kill 1 more deer for their bones and it'll be all ready. I'll also need the deer for the food. Winter's here, and the snow looks pretty, but it's very cold. I think everyone's still going to be better off than Timmy was last year. There's warm clothes, a fire, hot food, but at the same time, there's more work to do than ever. It's a good thing they have warm clothes too, since they're going to have to travel far and wide to hunt more deer. This is going to be the winter of meat. Back home, the old doors have to be destroyed so new superior ones can go in. Clothes also need to be replaced, and I don't have quite as many good new outfits as I'd like. The settlers and sewing station alike are suffering from the cold, so I threw a roof down over the ladder to help out. Since winter is a good time for research, I'll also unlock the second research table and not put it in yet. I forgot. Just knew that Timmy was about to rebel and didn't want him to bug it out. Clearly. The Great Hall's interior is done, but without a roof, it's no good. I guess Stonehill doesn't like puns. Nor does Boyden. Either way though, it finishes up. That's the last mood buff building. The settlers won't be happy. Probably not ever. But rebellion should at least nearly stop once they've gotten over Walt's death. At least until someone else dies. Boyden can go harvest some of the last berries on the map, while some others go hunting. I'd like to say that we're almost past this stage, but without a single merchant who's come through to sell cabbage seeds, I'm not so sure. Even if the food is still primitive, research doesn't have to be. The next tier of research bench goes in, which is going to help us unlock more advanced technologies down the line, and that includes more smithing. I'd wanted to wait on this to get a better miner to harvest more of the iron, but metalworking is important for us in the near future, so I'll go ahead and get going on mining more iron nuggets. I'm also going to start walling off. It's not quite ready to go in everywhere as we don't have the resources, but this will eventually be really important. Our defenses right now leave everything outside to get trashed, so any real progress will need to include a wall like this to defend everything, not just our colonists. I set my sights on blacksmithing and swords in particular, and queue up the needed 50 blue books and 20 red books. Longswords are the strongest weapons in the game, although I do hit a bit of a hitch going for them later. Cold Snap arrives. They'd been doing well with the temperatures too. I'm not really sure how bad this is going to be, but I do throw down a few braziers just to make sure there's someplace warm to go if any start getting close to passing out like Timmy used to. Man, he's gonna have so many back in my day moments. The cold won't stop work. The defenses need some new doors to replace those wooden ones I tore down. A grated door goes in the front, and then a second one behind with 1 space, and then a double stack of reinforced doors. Overkill? Maybe. But I don't want Boyden getting chased down. Grated doors give him a pretty big advantage, and reinforced doors make sure that they can't break in if he has to retreat. I want to put another bed in, but I'm actually out of hay and there's no more in the middle of winter. Timmy doesn't seem to mind donating his bed, or rather, the cold's making him pass out in the snow. I try to have Boyden rescue him, but it says that there's no open beds, even though there's one right there. I guess that one's just fake or something. The days continue with more modest external walls, more mining, and more hunting. I always need more clay for any big improvements to our defenses. I unlock smithing so I can build a forge, then move the kiln to have room for it. It's hard really only having this meager second story for important production buildings. Not to mention inefficient. Whenever anyone wants to get up here, they have to run all the way around. Kinda like having everyone mine out this iron is super inefficient. You should not do this. It's been a couple of days now, and I've noticed that no one is using this bed. I try to have them move the bed to the spare bedroom, but it says that it can't. Maybe the door is bugged? Delete it? No. Delete the bed? Oh, it's assigned to Walt. His ghost still haunts us. I can't even make Timmy delete this thing. I could leave it as a memorial, but it's literally in the center of town, and we only knew him for a few hours. So I'm gonna use dev commands to fix this. Settlers couldn't get rid of it, but dev cheats can, and while I've let construction bugs eat up a ton of resources already, I'm gonna make an exception and spawn a bedroom in to fix this. There, good as new. Remember, it's not cheating if you're just fixing a bug. Back to work. More wood, more clay, like always. With the kiln moved, the forge can go in on top. Some walls go in so that I can roof it off eventually. My exact quote while playing was, well, I don't need this for a while. Remember that in a minute. Timmy puts the forge in pretty quickly. Right now, we can only make basic weapons and smelt items down. Mechanical components are too hard, since they require a skill of 20 to make. It's been 4 hours since I said I didn't need the sewing station, and Etheldreda is rebelling in part because her clothes are ugly. Which seems pretty picky to me, but there aren't any more Baudry originals to sate her discerning eye, which means I'm gonna have to swallow my pride, admit I was wrong, and click this button. I want to wall more off, so I'll throw a stockpile for clay in here. I go to make a longsword, but Stoneold only has a smithing of 15, and the weapon requires a skill of 20. I confused their talent with Baudry's 20 and tailoring when I went to unlock longswords. I guess I'll be going for maces in the meanwhile, which only require a skill of 10 to make, but longswords do remain the eventual goal. Unfortunately, that's gonna be a long-term goal. Smithing is a slow skill to train, and our settlers have negative modifiers to both experience gain and the rate at which they forget their skills. The large outer wall on the other side starts going in. This diagonal wall does not look great, but it's much quicker to build and more resource efficient than just using straight lines. I'll get rid of some staircases on the south side and put in more walls here. And with that nearby stockpile, Timmy's already erected a chunk by the time I finish planning it out. This whole thing is only going to take us a couple days. Once it's in, enemies can run around on this eastern side, which is left on screen now, and get to the north, which is where I'll be building my main entrance and choke. Unfortunately, a couple days is one too long. Raiders come, 15, so we're outnumbered 3-1 again. Although this seems way more doable now. They're half archers, and the defenses I have should work really well against them. The snow is soon going to run red with blood. Boyden will be in front, and everyone else will be on either side. The first enemy gets to our gates, and that grated door is already doing work. Two-handed weapons like what Boyden has can attack through it, but one-handed ones like what some of the raiders have can't, which means that they instead beat on the door. Our archers can shoot through it, which means that they can hit them too, although they do have an accuracy penalty here. The enemy bunch up outside the choke just like I'd hoped. If the production facilities were downstairs, they'd destroy them, but upstairs, they're protected. That first raider is dying slowly, but they're not hitting us at all. Oh, their archers can shoot there? Huh? How? They're literally staring straight at the stairs. Okay, game, okay. Their master archers tear us up because our Merlons are not positioned to give cover that way. One hit puts Stonehill at half health, so I send her crawling back for cover. Boyden scores a kill with a spear. An enemy with their own runs up and then runs back despite being able to hit Boyden. An enemy archer takes their place, but also runs off after a second. Man, the pathing update cannot come soon enough. It'll make these defenses a lot more fun. Eventually, a spearman starts hitting the door. If the frame rate looks slow here, that's not the video or YouTube or anything. The game was just chugging super hard while I played. They start getting some hits in on Boyden through the door, but our team is definitely out damaging them. More archer fire is peppering us and getting our own low, but we're doing a lot of damage and actually knocking down kills. The third enemy runs up and almost instantly gets beaten down, only to get saved by the raiders calling it off. That's right, they're the ones that got saved by the bell. Sort of. I definitely couldn't have taken all 15 in a straight fight, although I think it would have been close without the enemy archers shooting through walls. Boyden can chase down this last kill. Okay, screw it. Overall though, I'm super happy with how well that worked. All of our colonists spent a lot of their time attacking and didn't take much damage apart from the archers. I'll be able to fix that to be even better in the future. The loot is pretty meager, which should improve as everyone starts dishing out more damage and killing enemies more quickly. Though the raid does have our food stockpiles depleted, people upset that they fought all night instead of sleeping, and injured enough that our range accuracy would be abysmally low for hunting. They should definitely be tending wounds, even for the rebels. I'm trying to spam right click Baudry here. This bed is just plain cursed. Smithing is going to be a big problem. Stonehill is losing experience so quickly that she's back down to 0 by the time they actually get around to smelting more. Unless I have a lot of materials ready to work with, I don't think leveling smithing is happening anytime soon. The injuries also make hunting super slow, although they do eventually knock a kill down to feed everyone. At least that wall is making steady progress. There's one more section to go, and then I need to get rid of some of the stairs on the western side to stop enemies from approaching there. I'm gonna keep a way for enemies to get around and go to our choke though, or maybe build a second entrance in the back here. Spring arrives, which means everyone made it through a second winter. That means a tree farm can start going in, though there still aren't any cabbage seeds to actually grow. With this new season here and another raid down, I think this is a good time to call the episode. The next one will feature finishing the wall, upgrading our weapons, and working on training our colonist fighting ability to actually start beating raids instead of just surviving them. I hope you'll join me to see it.